by this time you have the Rockefellers and you have others involved too. And J.P. Morgan kind of goes a little bit more into the background, but he's still there, and all the people that work for him and follow from him. Loban Kuhn is the name of one of the banks. So.
What is it, you said?
It's K-U-H-N.
Yeah, L-O-E-B and K-U-H-N. They're a major banking, a financial firm back east. And they were much more powerful back in the 20s and 30s than they probably are recognized now.
They've just been bought up and merged together.
Did you work for them, Gary? You have people that work for them in New York?
Anyway, so you go and you have Hitler, and then you have again America is still too smart. And you have people saying, no, we're not going to get in the war. We already did it once. We saw what happened last time. And so what happens? What got us into World War II? Pearl Harbor. Same manipulations. Yeah. Everybody, they knew, they forced Japan into a position where they had to do something. And they had broken the Japanese code. Before that all happened, they knew exactly what Japan was going to do. And they sat back and did nothing about it. And then blamed the generals that were in Hawaii for the whole problem to cover up for themselves. So we get World War II. In World War II, they're able to push things to the point where people are gullible enough that they establish the United Nations. And so where does the United Nations get all their money? From the people that run the Federal Reserve and all the other central banks in the world. Where all the wealth is. They pull the wealth out of the nations and then give it, empower the United Nations with it. And create the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank. That's all our money that makes these things work. They don't, like we said, they don't create anything. Bankers don't create anything either. What they create, the only thing they create is interest.
And crisis.
That's the only real money.
Yeah, crisis.
That's the only real money that they have is interest. Everything else is based on our wealth that we put in the banks.
I remember the way Ed Griffin explained it on his tape. Correct me if I'm wrong, but he said the Federal Reserve had a deal with the government for the government to give the Federal Reserve all of Americans' money, and then they would print dollars, and then they would sell our money back to the government with interest.
Yeah, well, the government, they create bonds, and with these government bonds, then the Federal Reserve prints money, gives it to the government, and then the government gives it back to them, to the banks. And so what you get is, here's a very important thing to learn about, and it's called the Mandrake mechanism. M-A-N-D-R-A-K-E mechanism. And the Mandrake mechanism is the principle of banks being able to loan money that they don't have. So what happens is the money comes back into the Federal Reserve. Okay, it's funny money in the first place. But then they're able, under current policy, I mean this has changed through the years, they're able to loan out 90% of that money. And who do they loan it to? They loan it to upper level banks. Those upper level banks loan out 90% of the money that they got from the Federal Reserve to banks down below them. So they only have 10% real money. They loan it out to banks going down until we get money that is basically, the principle is our country runs on debt. We have no real money in our country. It's all debt. And when the banks collapse today, we will collapse because there is no real money anymore. And that's why whenever they want to, they could collapse our country in a day if they wanted to.
They will all live in with Karen and London on their farm.
If we ever find one.
Yeah. Okay, and so you add a few things on top of this whole system. You know, they used to have to print money. And that took time and effort, and it took a little bit of expense. They don't have to do that anymore. They get on a computer, put in some numbers, and you've got more money. And you pass numbers all around the world, and you've got numbers floating around, and governments give it validity.
Well, they're trying to get us to that point. Oh, just use your phone, bump against whatever you want, and.
Yeah, you know, first it was plastic, and pretty soon plastic will be passe. It will be a little electronic device.
In Korea, it's just always on. Is this nobody in China yet? Where you can just pay for everything with your phone? Like in Korea, South
Yeah, I
Korea.
think there's some
That's how they
Asian
do it. They just pay for
countries that are
everything.
ahead of us in these.
Yeah, that, yeah.
When are we gonna get a chip in our forehead?
I was gonna say.
We're going there.
It's being researched and trialed all over the place. I mean, there's places in Asia where they've been doing that, and so it's all out there. What? Yeah. Right. So that basically that comes to kind of out of today, and like I said, it's a very cursory representation, but that's what the Federal Reserve is. It's a group of international banks that have come together to control America. And those same banks are involved in controlling the rest of the world. And they're gaining tighter and tighter and tighter control all the time. And they have organizations that support them and help them in this. One of the worst one is called the media. Because everybody who controls all the media are people who are part of these groups, who are paid for and encouraged and patted on the back and made feel good by the people with the money, because they all want money.
So is the answer just as clear cut as Ron Paul makes it sound? Just end the Fed and that would solve?
That's the beginning. That's a big, major beginning, is getting rid of the Fed. And then getting rid of the IRS and getting senators to represent states again instead of people. So in other words, have the legislatures in each state elect the senators, which is the way it was originally.
Yes.
So those three things.
That all happened right around 1912 too, right?
Yeah, 1913. All of that happened in 1913. And I'm thankful to say that Utah did not ratify any of them.
But they behaved like they did.
Yeah.
They had to
Now
accept it, but
now
they were
they do.
the only
Yeah, that's
one,
right.
they were one of very few states who didn't ratify any of those things. Because they understood, they saw what was going on. But anyway,
It
so,
was so good.
Yes, that was very, very informative.
you know, get some things and learn about it, because it's what's running our world.
I know.
Well, and one thing we have liked about this whole study years ago we were introduced to is that just the term it has on the beginning of the here which one is this other one? The conspiratorial
This one, yes.
view of history,
Yeah,
as
so-
opposed to the accidental view of history, like things just happen. There's not really anybody.
Nobody's
that-
controlling it.
So that's kind of a key phrase for me. It's more than conspiracy theory. No, there's a way that evil men really have, the great conspirator
Well-
is Satan, and he's got a
And
mechanism
what
going.
did Satan say? You can have anything in this world for money.
Yeah, and what
That's
better
the
way
principle these people.
to be able to continue to have these conspiracies, but to make everybody look like conspiracy
Yeah,
theorists.
sure.
Oh,
you're
yeah.
just-
Oh,
Yeah, you're just a bunch of conspiracy
That's like
wackos.
horse fables argument. You're just
Mhm.
the effects of a frenzied mind.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So Joseph, you were in Beijing, right?
Yes. Yeah. Which part were you in again?
Well, we were in Beijing for a year, then we spent a year in Boston, then we were 2 years in it's south of Hangzhou.
Okay.
Hangzhou is southeast of Shanghai.
Okay. And that's where you just got back from. Was there, not in
Uh-huh.
Beijing yet. Okay. Huh.
We were in a little town that had one stoplight. That's
Yeah.
really little for China.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
that's unbelievably small for China.
Yeah, we love that little town. This was great.
Huh.
Are you going to give me a hug and a mooch? That's what I hope. That's what I hope. Look at that girl. I love you. If you go to Daddy, he will help you brush teeth. He will help you brush your teeth. It'll be great fun. Go.
Okay, baby.
For a toothbrush, that could happen. Likes that part.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's really good.
Thank you.
So are you going back sometime?
Turn on.
Maybe not anytime soon.